Mona. Welcome to my channel. So I'm an English and IELTS teacher based in London, and I've also worked as an IELTS examiner doing the speaking exams and also marking the writing papers. So I've got a lot of knowledge about IELTS, specialist knowledge, insider knowledge basically. From being an IELTS examiner, I've gained a lot of understanding from the exam that way. And in this channel, I'm going to be sharing those with you. I'm going to bring you lessons in speaking, listening, reading, and writing to help you excel in IELTS. Let me tell you a little bit about the exam for those of you that don't know IELTS. IELTS stands for the International English Language Testing System. It is the most popular English test in the world. Over 3 million of these tests are done every year, and they are done in pretty much everywhere around the world. If you Google, you can probably find a local IELTS test center, and that's why it's so popular with students, professionals, as well as with universities, multinational companies, and anyone else who needs the IELTS. IELTS can basically open 3 doors for you. The first one is that if you are a student and you want to study in a university in the UK, Australia, New Zealand, and Canada, then you have to do the IELTS test and get a certain band before you are accepted by the universities. Normally in the UK, the average band is a band 7, but it varies depending on what degree you are doing. The second door that it can open for you is if you are a professional and you want to work in any of those English-speaking countries, then normally you would have to prove your level of English by doing an IELTS test. And this is especially true with certain professionals like the medical field. So if you're a doctor, a nurse, a midwife, a dentist, then you have to do the IELTS test before you can register with the professional bodies here in the UK, and you are allowed to work in the UK. The third benefit is for immigration purposes. So if you do want to live in any of those English-speaking countries that I mentioned, then the government will require that you prove your level of English is good enough for you to communicate with the locals in those countries. And because of that, they normally will ask you also to do an IELTS test and get a certain band so you can live here. So those are the 3 main benefits. Other than that, IELTS is a great way of knowing your level of English because it's a very popular test and so many of them have been done. It's a very accurate description of your level of English. So if you want to know where you are at in your English, then this is a great test to do. However, it's not easy. It's not like your average English test. You do have to prepare for it, and you do have to do a lot of practice in this. So that's IELTS, and in the next part, I'm going to tell you about the banding system and also a little bit about each of the tests that come under IELTS. So IELTS is made up of 4 tests. Speaking, which is done face-to-face with an examiner. Listening and reading, as well as writing. So the only one that you do face-to-face with the examiner is speaking. The others are done in a room, in a test center, and they are marked afterwards. So those are the 4 main tests, and each of them are different, but one common thing in all of them is that they are all based on a very high level of English. They're based on the level of English you would use in a university. So in the reading paper, for instance, the texts that you get is high level. So it's normally texts that have very complex vocabulary, that talk about complex topics, like the environment or about the law. So it comes in different topics, but like I said, it's not your everyday texts. It's not stories at all. And it's the same thing with the listening as well. You listen to lectures in university or seminars, and you have to answer questions on those. The writing part is actually, I think, the most difficult for most students. So the writing is made up of two parts, task 1 and task 2. Task 1 is a report on a chart or a diagram. And this is normally, it's a very data heavy task. They will give you numbers on a chart, and you have to analyze those numbers and pick out the most important trends or analysis and write it down. Task 2 is an essay, and again, this is similar to essays that you would write in universities, except they're not as research heavy. So you would have to write essays on different topics. And the essays themselves, they vary. So you might be asked to write an advantages and a disadvantages essay, or you might be asked to write a cause and effect essay. So there are different types of essays, and IELTS uses, they will give you one of those. There's normally not one standard essay. It depends on your luck and what you get, but the best way to prepare for task 2, is to familiarize yourself with all the essay types, practice writing them, so that way you can answer any that come up in the exam. So so those are the 4 main tests that you do have to do in IELTS, and you need to get well, in terms of the way they work out your overall band, they work out the average. So if you got a band 6 in listening, a band 5 in reading, and then a 6 in speaking, and then a 5 in writing, your overall band for everything will be 5.5. However, if you want to get an overall band 6, then you need to get 6 across the board in order for you to get that. And let me tell you one key thing as well when it comes to the overall band. Universities or professional bodies like the British Medical Association, they don't look at your overall band. They do actually ask you to get a specific band in each of the tests. They will ask, for instance, that you get a band 7 in each test. And if you don't do that, then you failed, and you have to do the test again till you get a band 7 in listening, speaking, reading, and writing. So you do need to be careful with that and make sure you understand clearly what kind of result the university or the company that you're working for require, and make sure you practice to that level, to that band. Finally, I've been talking about bands the whole time, and you may not be familiar with it, but bands are basically like grades, like grade A to grade F. Think of them that way. The higher the band, the better your English. And the lowest that you have in IELTS is a band 1. and the highest is a band 9, and not many people achieve a band 9. Not even native English speakers can get a band 9. So IELTS is a really interesting test because it is based on how much language you have, but it's also based on your skills. So if you learn the skills that you need to excel in this exam, then you can get a very high band, a band that most native English speakers won't be able to get. And that's what I will be doing in this channel. I'm going to be teaching you the language, which is vocabulary and grammar, but also I'm going to be teaching you the skills and the techniques that you need to be able to excel in each test. If you find the lessons useful and you are learning from me, then please do share, like, and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in the next lesson.